Hey, what's up guys? My name is Anand and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about Performance Max campaign. What is Performance Max campaign? Why should you use it? When to use it? And all the details about it. So let's get started. This is a new functionality that Google Ads have implemented, which is Performance Max. And in a nutshell, it is going to heavily depend on Google's automation and machine learning capability of determining what type of ad combination will work for what type of audience. Basically, it's gonna put more emphasis on Google to figure out what type of ad assets will work well for your audience, and it's gonna take into consideration a number of input such as audience signal. Audience signal is basically any previous visits to your website, conversion data, engagement data. It's going to take into consideration like keyword input that you can provide, which is typically what you do for search campaign, and also Google's understanding about how different audiences it has already created. So combining all that input data and your conversion data, it's going to figure out who they need to reach out to and which channel they need to use. And of course, performance campaign has a great advantage because it is going to allow you to advertise and make use of all the different ad platforms that Google provides, which includes YouTube, display, search, discover, Gmail, and maps. So that's like 5 channels in one campaign. Again, it's a fantastic approach. I think it's a really neat feature. But I'm gonna answer the next question is, when should you use Performance Max campaign? Now, I don't recommend starting right off the bat with Performance Max because the foundational principles of setting up a good ad campaign is still important. So I would recommend, if you're starting out as a new business, if you're starting off with Google Ads, initially I would still recommend running standalone Google search ads, standalone Google display ads, standalone YouTube ads, just so that you can get a hang of all the internal controls that you get in terms of bidding, conversion tracking, keywords, negative keywords, and all those details. Now I have a bunch of videos on my YouTube channel, so I would highly recommend first watching them. But yeah, start out with those standalone campaigns, and then once you have, let's say, your Google search campaign really running well, and then you're getting a lot of conversions, that's when you can then start Performance Max campaign, so that it goes hand in hand with your already existing search ads, because you are going to be able to reach out to a very targeted set of customers when you run search ads. And then once you add Performance Max campaign to your existing campaign, which is search ads, it's going to boost your overall exposure of your brand, of your products and services. So what will happen is, let's say you're running your search ads and then you're getting a lot of traffic, then in the background you're also building your custom audience, which is people who visited your website. And since you're running search ads, it's going to be super targeted, right? You are only going to be using the right keywords to target the right audience. So then you're able to now create a custom audience out of website visits that can then feed into your Performance Max campaign as an audience signal, which will then overall enhance your performance, of course, and maximize your performance, right? So that's the idea behind it, and that is how I would recommend going about it, which is starting with search ads. Then after you have a lot of conversions, lots of data that Google can depend on, after that you run Performance Max campaign. So next step is, how do you then set up a Performance Max campaign? So let's jump straight into a Google Ads account. So basically what you do is click on new campaign, and then let's say, for example, I'm gonna promote my website, and I wanna drive traffic to a blog, for example. So I'm gonna select like website traffic, and then you can select your conversion goals in based on like previous conversions that you have set up. So right now I have just set up as a submit lead form, but you can have like of course like multiple conversions, so you can choose those goals as the conversion action, right? So I will leave it as it is, and then I will hit continue. Now this is where you will be able to select your campaign type. So So search ads, as you know, straightforward. Display is image based, shopping ads, YouTube ads, and then discovery. Now this is the new feature they have added, performance max. So I'm going to select that. The standard best practice is to really use the brand name, the product, and then the campaign type. So I'm not going to rename it. I'm just going to leave it as it is, and then I'm going to hit continue. Okay, now as you can see, the first step is you will need to set up an average budget each day. So I'm just going to say like $10 for now, and then immediately what will happen is on the right hand side, like you will get to see like typical conversions based on like historical estimates. So really you will be able to see like what type of conversions you are gonna get, but this is not accurate because it's just a high level metric. As you start refining your campaign settings and add asset groups, this estimate will obviously going to change. Now the next step is to select the bidding strategy. Now I do recommend setting on conversions, because that way your campaign will use maximize conversions bid strategy. So basically it will try to target customers and audiences who are more likely to convert, and it's going to optimize your entire campaign strictly focusing on conversions. If you select conversion value, then what will happen is you will be able to basically select, or you'll be able to it's going to maximize for like the return on ad spend. That's going to be the main focus. But I would now conversion value is important for e-commerce, of course. Let's say you have a minimum threshold for your return on ad spend, then conversion value makes sense. But if it's for any other type of objective, then I would recommend like selecting conversions. So next step is I'm going to select like United States, for example, and then over here you get to select again, this is a new feature, it's called as final URL expansion. Now basically what happens is, let's say you're driving traffic to a product page, and then typically what happens is in Google Ads you gotta select your final destination, right? So if you do that, if you select like only send traffic to a specific URL, then you will get that option in the next page. But if you select like URL expansion, then what Google will automatically do is it will update the headline for each of the ad to match the searcher's intent, and it will then determine the best landing page for conversion. Now that's super advanced, I would say. I think it will work really well when it comes to like a Shopify based store or like an e-commerce store, right? Depending upon the product type that people is searching for and the understanding of what Google has about your website, it will dynamically change the URL. Now that's like super advanced stuff. For people who like to have control over the ad campaign like me, I don't recommend expansion immediately. If it's working, if your campaign is performing extremely well, and then you're like, hey, I just have a few extra bucks to like try it out and see, only then I would say like select expansion, URL expansion. Otherwise just select your traffic. Okay, more settings. I'm not gonna change anything over here, and then hit next. Okay, now as you can see, this is where you will be actually configuring your ad. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to select my website over here, and I'm just gonna pick the homepage or add the homepage of my blog over here. Alright, so I've added my URL, and then what you can do is you can add up to like let's say like couple of images over here. I'm just gonna select a few images which I already have, and then I can save. Alright, so I have like few images over here. I mean, these are all like old images, but and then you can select your logo. So you can either select like scan your website, or I don't recommend scanning your website and choosing images. I do recommend like uploading images to your website. I think that's the best way to go. But anyways, it's gonna scan right now. What I'm doing is I'm gonna let Google scan my website, and let's see if it's gonna pick any images. Well, it doesn't have any videos. I'm just gonna pick these random images over here. Okay, alright, so I have these images over here, and then it's gonna ask me to select a video. That's fine. I have a bunch of assets over here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select any of the video over here. Alright, so I have them, and then this is where you add your headline. So let's say, for example, I'm promoting a specific blog about like get B2B marketing. I'm gonna add a couple of headlines like you see. Alright, and then so that's enough, I would say. Okay, I think that's enough. Oops. Alright, I think that's enough. Alright, then comes the headline, long headline. Well, this is basically the description part, so okay, add a description. I'm gonna add a long headline. Okay, one more to go, and maybe one more. Okay, and let's see. Okay, I think that should be enough. And I'm gonna add a business name. Now, as you can see, this is how it's gonna look like in like Gmail. If I click on YouTube, look at this. It's a nice preview of how it's gonna look like in YouTube. This is how it's gonna look like in search, and then display ads based on the images that I've provided. And then discover ads. So as you can see, really nice way of like hitting your audience in multiple different channels. And then the next step is to create an audience signal. Now I do have a couple of audiences, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say website visits. Alright, and then I'm gonna say new audience segment, and then I'm gonna say over here people interested in B2B marketing, and then I'm gonna add people who search for any of these search terms, right? So I'm gonna say B2B marketing, B2B digital marketing, right? I'm just giving like more options over here based on a few parameters, and basically this is what one of the segments that Google is going to consider in terms of a custom segment, right? I can add or create more segments, and then so I can of course like add multiple layers to it. The other thing is you can select your data. Now this is where you can select like people who previously visited or interacted with our business, right? Now I don't think, okay, I do have a website visitor audience already created in my audience manager. So what I'm gonna say is take into consideration people who visited all of my website, so all visitors. And I'm gonna say also consider anyone who has spent more than 60 seconds. So that's going to be a part of one of the input, right? So right now what I've done is I've created like two different signals: custom segment based on like keywords, and then website visits. And of course you can add more layers to it, in the sense like you can add like interest and details demographic. Now this is what you will typically use when it comes to like display ads, but I'm going to leave it as it is. And then again you get like more options in terms of demographics. Now once you're done doing all those segments, I would say this is how it will look like. So basically it's a summary. It's going to say that it's going to take into consideration all website visitors, right? Time spent on page more than 60 seconds, and it's going to take into consideration like the keywords that I have provided. So as you can see, your audience signal is done, your asset is done, and then finally you're going to add any other extensions. Now like with search campaigns, you can straight away get into like site link extensions, or you can even use like lead form extension. Now this is again a great way to, I would recommend adding lead gen, because you are going to drive traffic to your website anyways. But if the sole purpose is to generate leads, that is, if you are driving users to your landing page and then you're making them to fill out a form, well, in that case lead form extension is an absolute must. So I would definitely recommend that. I don't recommend if you're sending people to your e-commerce store and when they're buying and converting directly. In that case, lead form is not required, but otherwise definitely add it. So I'm going to just add these two extensions over here. You have more extensions of, for example, like structured snippet, call out, and all those details. Same extensions that you get when you set up like a search ad. So feel free to add them, hit next, and then finally it's going to give you your review. So as you can see, setup is different with Performance Max campaign. It's giving more options. It's like really packaging it all together, you know, like 5 different channels from Google, different data points such as search keywords, your website visits, demographics, interest, and behavior. So there's a lot of like input parameters, combining that with your conversion data. So super cool and super effective way of like really giving all the data that you have to Google so that it can enhance your performance. Now I will go back to my initial point. I do not recommend this starting right off the bat. You need to have some history in your ad account, some conversions, some website metrics, so that this Performance Max campaign can work really well. So that's pretty much it, guys, in terms of what is Performance Max campaign, when to use it, why to use it, and how to set it up. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. I would really appreciate if you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Alright, thank you guys. I will see you next time.